All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Laura. With me today is Emery, and we want to thank you for joining us for today's program. Please note that you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. Lauren will be monitoring the chat to assist you with any issues and bring questions to our attention. We will also be sure to leave time at the end for some questions. Just a few reminders we want to share with everyone. Note that this program is being recorded and will be made available on the Plano Public Library YouTube page for later viewing. We ask that you remain respectful for presenters and everyone else involved throughout the program. And let's get started with bullet journaling for students.
Great. So you might be asking, what is bullet journaling? Well, it was a system that was created by writer Carol to help you track the past, organize the present, and plan for the future. And there's really no wrong way to create your bullet journal. Carol says it's not about how it looks, it's about how it feels, and most importantly, how it works for you. And research has shown that using a bullet journal helps you to externalize your thoughts. When you externalize your thoughts, it frees up mental space up there, which allows you to learn more clearly and concentrate better.
It looks like a little bit of a delay on switching from screen to screen, but there we go. So why use a bullet journal for school? So you have less distraction and more productivity. When you use your phone or your tablet as your calendar, this opens up the possibility that you might get sidetracked by other apps. So when you don't have that distraction, you don't have to worry about a decrease in productivity. It improves your memory. So studies have shown that students who write notes by hand learn more than those who type their notes. When you are writing those notes by hand, you are forcing your brain to work harder as it digests that information, and this fosters comprehension and retention. Organization is a great part of bullet journaling. Everything is in one place. You don't have to say, oh, let me look at this calendar for this class or this calendar for this extracurricular. It's all there in one place. And the more organized you are, the less stressed you will be. It helps you to become more self-aware so you know your own limits and capabilities. And so it lets you optimize your study time and habits. You know what you're good at, you know what you struggle with, so you can plan accordingly. And it is completely customizable. You can control everything about your bullet journaling, from the way it's laid out to what colors you use, how it works. So this lets you put everything you need in one place in a way that works best for you.
Okay, so now we're moving on to supplies. Now you can get a bullet journal, like a journal specifically for this type of journaling, but it's not required. You can just use a blank sheet of paper, computer paper, construction paper, whatever you have at home. But we also recommend getting some pens, and if you like to color code, maybe getting some different colored pens. You can use highlighters, colored pencils, markers, crayons, and definitely grab a ruler. I know I am one of those people who cannot draw a straight line to save my life, so a ruler is a huge help in bullet journaling.
So let's move on to our first spread, and it is the yearly planner. So this provides an overview of the entire year or semester. You can see on the pictures here that I broke it down into the fall semester and the spring semester. And at a quick glance, this lets you know how busy you are at any given point in the year. It helps you get a general idea of what's coming up. So you're going to include noteworthy events such as final exams, school breaks, special events, homecoming, someone's wedding, as well as extracurricular activities. So UIL games, concerts, competitions, those are the type of things you're going to put on the yearly planner. And it keeps everything together in one calendar so you don't miss anything. So you do not have separate calendars for school and then your personal life and your extracurricular. It's pretty easy to forget something if you have to flip through 3 different calendars. So that way it's all there, all in one space. And of course, following yearly would be a monthly planner. So this will overlap with your yearly planner, but will also include more details. And it also includes those smaller events, like you may not put something on your yearly planner that you would on your monthly. So you use the yearly planner to help plan your month. You use this to help plan your month. For example, putting exams, quizzes, and major due dates on the calendar will be helpful when making appointments. So you'll know which days to avoid so you don't miss a test. I like to assign a different color to different things. So in this instance, you can assign a color to each class and keep it consistent throughout your bullet journaling. So for example, always use blue for AP US History. When you're looking at your calendar, you know anything this color, I have something in history that day. And studies have shown that using color stimulates your visual memory and also helps you to differentiate between information. So it's a great thing, especially if you are a visual learner.
Up next, we have a goal tracker. So according to the Action for Happiness organization, writing down our goals increases our chances of sticking with them. So track your goals by putting them down on paper. And if you're a student, consider your goals for school. So think about any goals you have for your classes, if you want to improve a grade or get an assignment done by a certain time. You can also think about any groups or clubs that you're a part of in school. So that can be NHS or film club, debate club, anything like that. You can also think about your extracurriculars and any goals you have for those. Any UIL competitions for band or for choir or cheerleading competitions or games, anything like that. You can list a goal or an area that you would like to improve upon. And you can also think about your groups outside of school. So that can be sports outside of school, any religious groups or community focused groups. You can add those goals on here. And this just helps you keep track of those goals. And you can do this for your yearly goals, your monthly goals, as well as your weekly goals. So you can just reference back to it at the end of the week, month, or year.
So we had our yearly and monthly planner. Let's take a look at our weekly planner. This one will be even more detailed than your monthly planner. You're going to use that monthly calendar to fill in important dates on your weekly planner, and then you'll fill in week-specific events like tutorials, volunteer commitments, things like that. So I stuck with the color purple since that's what color I used in my monthly planner. I would then choose a different color for my next month. So I really like to color code, and that way I would know any page that is purple in my bullet journal, that's something that has to do with September. And so this is a personal preference. You could pick a theme for each year. Maybe you'd want to do blue or green, or you can go in really cheap color order, or even use your school colors. Include space to write homework assignments down. Decide how you want to differentiate between what is homework and what is not. So on here, I did a shaded region for me to write down any homework for each day of the week. And I also included a small monthly calendar to reference things like, oh, I have something the 22nd. Is that a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Things like that. So you have that up there to kind of give you an idea of where this week is in the month. There's a to-do list to write down things for that week. So these are things that are homework, that are not homework, but you still need to accomplish. So for example, I have a quiz coming up in Latin, so I need to make some flashcards. And then leave space for notes. Anything you need to know or remember is kept in a convenient place that you look at all the time. And then you can cross things out as you do it. This is a little note for October, so I can get a head start on something. This way, it's just all in one week, and you can see that I have school stuff as well as volunteering out in the community, as well as a family birthday party.
Okay, up next we have a brain dump. So if you find your mind racing with all of the things that you need to do during the day or during that week or the month, try creating a brain dump. which is kind of like a to-do list, but in a more creative format. So creating a brain dump helps you organize your thoughts and prioritize any tasks or goals that you may have. And this can be a daily, weekly, monthly, or even yearly brain dump. And you can be as specific or as general as you'd like. So some of the things I included on this one, for example, a group project meeting. So email the group members, meet at Davis Library, delegate tasks and set the due dates. Then volunteer at Plano Public Library and what I would specifically need to do there and logging my hours. And also my SAT prep class. I want to make sure that I remember to take notes. You could also add reminders on this for you, like bring your notebook and pen. It just helps, again, prioritize what you have to do during that day and just organize your thoughts in a better format.
All right, so next up we have a class schedule. You can use this to those first few weeks of school when you're still learning your schedule. You need to know what room you need to go to, who your teacher is. I have this broken down into 2 semesters, so fall and spring. If you ever need to put a classroom number on a form, you can reference your schedule. Sometimes that's not something you memorize, or maybe you need to check the spelling of a teacher's name. It's also a great reference for the future to help jog your memory, because in 10 years, you might lie awake at night trying to remember who your AP Psych teacher was. And this you can just refer back to and get a quick refresher of what you were doing, maybe your junior year of high school.
All right, now we have a grade tracker. So this is just what it sounds like. It's a great way to keep track of your assignments, their due dates, and the grades for each of your class. So you can see on this one, I listed the classes on the left-hand side. And then the first column I listed or is for the assignment or test or exam or paper, whatever it may be. The next column is the due date. And then the next column is the weight. So this is how much weight an assignment has in your overall class. So if your exam is 20% of your grade, you could put that in that column. The next column is your grade, so whatever you make on that assignment. And the last column is your average. So this is what your grade is, your average grade for the entire class is at the time after submitting the assignment or completing the exam. And again, it just helps you stay on top of your grades for all of your classes. And it will also show you which classes you may need to improve upon. And it'll help you avoid any grade surprises at the end of the semester, or if you have grade requirements for your extracurriculars, it'll help you stay on top of them as well.
So now we have a foreign language calendar. This is a calendar for your language classes. It's created in the language that you are studying. So for example, this person is taking Latin. Here's their calendar. Everything is in Latin. The assignments, the month, the day of the week, everything is in Latin. So this reinforces vocabulary and gives you practice writing in a different language. So for example, the Romans did not number the days of the month, 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 3 important days of the month, the calends, the Ides, which were made famous in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar when he's told, beware the Ides of March, and then the nones. And each day of the month was counting toward the next major day. This is a really strange concept and it might not be easy to remember, but taking time to create a calendar each month helps you to reinforce that, especially in a language whose grammar structure might be different from the one you speak the most, gets you in the habit of writing and thinking the way the language works, especially if you're in an AP class when you might be taking an AP exam for a different language and it has a written portion. Just really trains your brain to start thinking like that. So you could do this in a couple of different ways. You could have a section of your bullet journal devoted to each of the classes. And then for your Latin part of the bullet journal, have your language class language class calendar there, or you can create it on loose leaf paper and then stick it in the front of your binder or the section of your binder that you keep your foreign language class notes. And again, this is just a great way to think in the language that you are learning, because it's going to be a lot different than English probably. And it's a calendar you wouldn't see very often, so you're just reinforcing all of that.
Okay, the next one we have is an essay outline. So you can create an outline for any essay you have to write for school. So start by outlining the different parts of your essay. So for this example, I'm writing an essay on The Great Gatsby, which is one of my favorite books. I want to start by creating a thesis statement. So this is going to be what the essay is about. So that's thesis right up at the top. And then I want to have 3 points that I make in the essay that connect to the thesis statement. So I have those highlighted in purple to separate them a little bit. And the number of points you have for the essay could vary depending on the class you're taking and the requirements. So you can add more or less if you wanted to. But for each point, you also want to have evidence that supports those points. So those could be quotes or other things like that. And again, that could vary depending on the essay. But in this example, I have 3 points of evidence that go back to and support my points. And I wrote those in a blue ink, again, just to separate them a little bit. And then lastly, a concluding statement. So that's going to wrap up your essay and help connect everything, all those final pieces together. And doing this kind of outline helps you fully organize and develop your thoughts before you even sit down to write an essay. So speaking from experience, it is very challenging to just sit down and write an essay without doing an outline beforehand. And if you know the direction your essay needs to go, then it makes the writing process a little bit easier.
So we have our table of formulas next, and this is just your own quick reference guide. I use geometry as an example, but you can do this for whatever subject you need to create a reference guide for. When you reorganize information, so this is stuff you've already learned in class, you're reorganizing it for your own use. This causes you to form new connections and it deepens your understanding of the content. And you also have the opportunity to neaten things up. You might have been in a rush in class and your notes are a little bit messy, so you can neaten it up. And then you can catch any mistakes you made and you can figure out, wait a minute, I have a question about this. So you can have a clarifying question. You can either take to tutorials or ask in class the next day. And rewriting things by hand has shown that it helps you to memorize information. So you can use these tables as a primary resource to refer to when you're doing your homework or studying for a test. You can have it laid out and open as you work through problems, or you have a quick 10 minutes so you can study after lunch, pull this out and review it. Studies have shown that using different colors in your notes helps to improve your memory and the ability to recall information. And so I remember being in school and I was a bit of a visual learner, so a lot of times I could picture in my mind where it was in the textbook, by which picture it was. It just didn't have that information. So sometimes this color will just kind of jog your memory. Circles were dark green. What was that? Oh, yes, it was this. And you can use this in a couple of ways, the same as with your foreign language calendar. So you could have a section of your bullet journal devoted to each class, and you can create your table there. So for example, I'd keep this one in my math section of my bullet journal, or you can again create it on a loose leaf sheet of paper and stick it in your binder or the divider that has your math stuff, just somewhere where it's handy and easy for you to reach out and grab when you need it.
Okay, next we have an exam preparation bullet journal. So you can use this type of bullet journal format to track what information you need to study for an exam. Just write down the date of your exam and the modules or information you will learn throughout the semester. And usually at the beginning of the class, when you get the syllabus for your class, it'll outline everything that you're going to learn for the most part. So you can base your bullet journal off of that. And be sure to set specific dates for when you want to review course material or information throughout the semester. And spreading out your studying over the course of the semester helps you retain the information better than an all-night study session right before an exam or the night before. This also helps you make your studying more intentional. So what I did here on this example, I, again, did an English class. I was an English major, so I just stuck with what I knew, but you can do this for any class or any course that you're taking. I just listed the class at the top, and on the right-hand side, I listed the date of the exam and the time, so I could keep that in my mind through the entire semester. And then I looked at the calendar and the class schedule and counted out how many weeks would be in the class. So for this instance, there were 15 weeks. And for each week, we're going to learn a different topic or subject or focus on a different novel or a play or whatever is being studied for that class. And I just wrote that information by each week. And then on the far right-hand side under the exam date, I did a line in a different color and I listed specific dates that I wanted to go back and review all of the previous information. So on September 24th, I want to review weeks 1 through 6 and just make sure that I have that in my brain. And then again, later in October, I want to review those weeks. And then again, at the end of the semester, I want to review those weeks. So that gives you a couple of weeks at the very end before the exam to go back and review everything if you feel like you need to. And again, this could be used for any class. It just helps you make your studying more intentional and helps you retain the information better. Right, and our last bullet journal format is kind of a fun one. We know school can be stressful, so don't ever forget to relax and do some self-care. So this is a how to relax bullet journal. And according to activeminds.org, self-care promotes well-being and reduces stress. So think about the things that feel relaxing to you. Write them down and keep them in mind when you have a stressful day. We all know on stressful days, our minds can be racing and we're thinking about something. And sometimes it's easier to just look at a list of things that make me feel relaxed rather than trying to have to think about them while I'm thinking about everything else. So on this list, I did some fun colors and I drew a little bird, or I traced, let's be real, I traced that bird, which is totally fine. You don't have to be super artsy to do a bullet journal. You can trace stuff. But I listed reading a book, drinking a cup of tea, walking Tucker, my dog, FaceTiming with a friend, watching a movie, baking cookies. And I also put a little reminder on a clipboard to just breathe, because sometimes that's all you need on a stressful day. Just take a few deep breaths and it helps clear your mind. So again, this is just a good way to remind yourself to relax and to help yourself on those stressful days.
Okay, so before we wrap up, we do want to share with you a library resource that we have. This is the Hobbies and Crafts Reference Center. This is an EBSCO database that you can access for free with your PPL library card. And this database provides detailed how-to instructions and creative ideas to meet the interest of hobby enthusiasts. So you can run a quick bullet journaling search here and it'll turn up a bunch of different articles, things like that, to give you new ideas for your bullet journaling. And of course, there's other crafts too. So there are like needlecrafts, knitting, embroidery, scrapbooking, indoor, outdoor recreation, things like that. So it's not just limited to bullet journaling. Highly recommend you check that out. Give you a lot of ideas. And that brings us the end of our time together. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to take those now. Give you just a few minutes. And Lauren did drop the link to our database page of our website in the chat as well, so you can access it through there. All right, well, thank you so much for attending our virtual program today. You can find more resources at our website, planolibrary.org, as well as our blog, the planolibrarylearns.org, and check out our YouTube page as well. We have some past bullet journaling programs that are up there as recorded programs as well. Let's check one more time. Any questions? And we want to thank you all so much for coming today, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you.